we're supposed to start at 7, so it is 7 now. Okay, I'd like to call to order the Concord Township Council meeting, December 8th of 2020. We don't have a flag, but I think in honor of our flag, I guess we ought to stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. In fact, there's one at Nanda's. So, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I guess the idea of disclosure of non-recording devices we could dispense with for this meeting since we are doing it virtually. First item on the agenda is the approval of the public meeting minutes of November 4th regular meeting. Motion to do so.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Next is the total expenditures for the month of $800,817.25, made up of a November payroll of $144,139.78, current bills totaling $480,196.73, current sewer bills totaling $176,480.74. Do I have a motion to approve those expenditures?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Amanda, I understand we're going to be doing an operating fund balance transfer. Do you need to add anything to that?
That is correct. The treasurer has, we have a fund balance policy and we have targets that we have to meet and it needs to be below 30%. Every December since that policy, we have been transferring any funds. This would be a transfer from the sewer operating fund to the sewer capital fund, and it would be earmarked for new infrastructure.
Okay, that being said, do I have a motion to make that transfer?
So moved.
$1 million. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify.
Can you say how much it is again, Dominic?
$1,400,000.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. All right.
Mr. Gillespie, I think you have an Eagle Scout, and we normally give you the honor of making that recognition, so I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Resolution number 59 of 2020, resolution of the Concord Township Council congratulating Andrew John Pelzar, fourth, on his outstanding achievement in attaining the rank of Eagle Scout. Whereas Andrew John Pelzar IV is the recipient of the highest scouting award, Eagle Scout. In honor of this achievement, a court of honor is scheduled for December 12, 2020. However, due to COVID-19 guidelines, attendance may be limited. Whereas the Boy Scouts of America is a vital force in the development of our youth through its many programs, which encourage the ability of its members to do things for themselves and especially for others. One of the major objectives the scouting program is to develop citizenship through community involvement, and in addition to working for citizenship merit badges, Scouts are encouraged to participate in community service projects. Whereas for his community service project, Andrew constructed a gazebo in the front yard at the Rachel Cole Library in Concord Township. The project entailed raising the funds necessary to purchase the gazebo kit, then to direct a group of volunteers to assemble the gazebo pieces. Andrew raised over $4,000 through donations to purchase the kit. He then directed 16 scouts and 11 adults to assemble the gazebo. A total of 207 volunteer hours were required to complete the project. Andrew selected this project to provide a place for people to sit and enjoy the outdoors while reading, and as a memorial to Louise Barney. Whereas Andrew John Pelzar, 260, has proven himself to be an outstanding member of the Boy Scouts of America, having served as patrol leader, assistant patrol leader, and senior patrol leader. The Eagle Scout Award is a distinction that will follow him throughout life. Therefore, be it resolved, Concord Township Council congratulates Andrew on being a recipient of the highest Scout Award, Eagle Scout, and encourages him to continue his commitment to excellence. This is passed and approved this 8th day of December 2020, Township of Concord Council. That's in the form of a motion. The for resolution number 559-2020.
Seconded. We have a first and a second.
Dominic?
Dominic's on mute.
Okay, all those in favor, please say
Aye.
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 Hey, man.
Congrats, Andrew.
Someday we ought to figure out how many Eagle Scouts we've had through here. We've
Oh,
had quite a
yeah.
few over the years. Okay, monthly activity reports. Amanda, are the state troopers,
I am looking for him right now.
we go on to sewer department while you're doing that?
I just promoted Lieutenant Hennigan
What's
to
the
a panelist. So Lieutenant Hennigan just needs to unmute himself. There we go. Lieutenant Hennigan, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, well, thank you for giving me some time this evening at the meeting. I just wanted to go over a few things with everyone as it being near the end of the year. Just give you an idea of where we stand with our numbers that we've had throughout the year as far as crimes and enforcement. So, not too bad with burglaries in the township, and this is only for Concord Township. There were 5 burglaries throughout the year of 2020 so far. There was no pattern as far as anything that was repeat or anything like that, or different neighborhoods. It was spread out pretty much. The biggest concern was thefts and stuff from motor vehicles. So a lot of windows being smashed or being left unlocked and items being removed. The main thing I can say is to keep your doors locked and not leave items in view or anything valuable anywhere in the car when you either at night when you go to bed or when you go into a store or anything like that. We had 17 deaths from motor vehicles throughout the year. Earlier in the year, one of our troopers did make an arrest for several of those. However, recently we have seen an uptick once again, and we have our criminal investigation unit assigned to follow up on those. They have no suspects as of yet. Crashes, there were 123 reportable crashes in Concord Township throughout this year. Reportable crashes, when I say that, I mean those are crashes where either one of the cars was not drivable or someone was injured. So the minor crashes are called non-reportable crashes. So we don't really take those into account as much as reportable crashes, which there were 123. We did issue approximately 1,178 traffic citations in the township for this year. That is a really high number, especially considering that during the month of March and part of April, when the initial COVID lockdowns commenced, we were not stopping many vehicles at all, and the traffic pretty much was down to very little on the roadways. So you're taking a month or a month and a half out of our enforcement, and we had over 1,100 citations in the township. We did make 44 DUI arrests in the township throughout the year. And again, that was limited due to that month and a half, but that is still pretty on pace with other townships that we cover. And we also made 19 drug arrests. Most of those also stem from traffic stops that we make in the township. So those are the numbers as far as the main things that we generally look at. Nothing else really stood out. So if anyone has any questions or concerns, I'd be happy to answer on those or anything else.
Lieutenant, I have one question on the number of, was that deaths? I think I heard you say was 17 from cars or?
No, I'm sorry, deaths. So breaking into cars.
Thefts. Oh, I was concerned. Okay, good.
Sorry. No.
No, all right. Never mind.
Lieutenant Hennigan, I had a question with regard to traffic citations.
Yes.
You mentioned the number, I think, over 1,000, and noted how high it was. I know in the past there's been some targeted efforts in the township, particularly around Smithbridge Road for speeding and things like that. So could those numbers be high due to some targeted efforts throughout the year, or do we see sort of a pattern of areas where those citations occur, or do they occur mainly on Route 1 and 202?
So they're spread out. There are a lot on Route 1 and 202, and I will say that that's where the majority of our crashes come from as well. We did write 135 on Smith Bridge Road alone. That was due to the troopers going out there and doing radar enforcement and things of that nature. And the reportable crashes on Smith Bridge Road were 14 for the year. So it's really not a high number, and only 5 of those were crashes with injuries involved. So obviously we don't like to see anybody get injured in a crash. We don't like to see any crashes. But as far as in my experience, other roads in the areas we cover, it's really not, it doesn't stand out as far as a high crash area on that roadway. But we did issue 135 citations on that roadway.
I have 2 questions, Lieutenant. Based on those numbers that you gave out, do we have a printed copy of your report, or does that get sent to our township manager?
I believe our Community Services Officer, Trooper Tobin, sent something, but we're actually planning on meeting with Amanda and Colleen about possibly providing more information, I believe, going forward.
Yeah, the other thing was, since we're into the holiday season, and any notes of interest or any car break-ins happening in the shopping centers? I mean, usually in this time of year, we get a lot of complaints about cars being broken into in the shopping centers.
Yes, so there has been a couple, and obviously every year around this time we see an increase in those. And like I said earlier, the main thing is lock the doors, and a lot of times those people that are looking to break into cars, they'll walk around and look through the windows, and if they see a purse or a laptop or something like that in plain view, is the cars that they target. So the main thing I can say is keep those out of view. Don't even leave them in the car at all. A lot of things we see as well are people, not as much this year, probably due to the weather not being as cold and COVID and everything like that, but people dropping kids off at daycares, things like that, and just running in with their children and leaving their purse or their bag or things of that nature in the car unlocked, and it's an easy target. So do the best to secure your vehicle, and it limits your possibility of being victimized.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Lieutenant?
Yeah, Dominic, Colleen Marone, Lieutenant, thanks for the update. Looking forward to having a conversation on how we can take some of the numbers and be able to have them reported on a monthly basis where we can track them from month to month. So this information is very good for the year, and I think it will be really helpful as we try to get some standard reporting that we can at least keep at a township level. So I appreciate the opportunity to meet with you and your willingness to help us put some of that in place.
Absolutely, and anything we can do to improve that communication, we'd be willing to look at, so no problem.
Okay. Well, on behalf of everyone, I'd like to thank you for coming out this evening, and hopefully we'll see you or someone else from the barracks at our meetings a little more regularly. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Amanda, do we wait for him to...
I am going to change his role. And now we are okay.
Okay, so we're back to the agenda. Mr. Gillespie, Sewer Department report, please.
Yes, I have the report from Terry Grant, monthly activity report for November. Both the main plant and Riviera plant continue to meet discharge requirements within the parameters of the NPDES permits. The operations staff performed 7 lateral inspections as required for resale certification during the month of November. Bidding took place this month for the new chemical storage building at the main plant, the annual chemical supply contract. And under item number 10, we will be recommending awards later on in the meeting. Finally, the developer portion of Smith Bridge Estate Sewer Project is near completion. We're waiting for DEP to issue the construction permit for our portion of the project. Beginning for the second phase will take place once the permit has been issued. End of the report.
Thank you. Code Enforcement Officer Mano is not with us this evening, but his report will be part of the record. Planning Commission, Rich Jewelson. I don't think Rich will be joining us, but we do have his report. We have the Tordone subdivision, which we will be dealing with later on in the agenda. And they are reviewing the Stephanie 164 Governor Markham Drive and Miller Properties 155 Governor Markham Drive properties. And they had met with some of the abutting property owners. That is not scheduled for action this month, but will be before us probably in the near future. Solicitor, Mr. Donahue.
Good evening. Two matters that are involved in litigation. First is Concord Ventures. Concord Ventures had filed a motion to supplement the record. Judge Whalen has been assigned the case. He has ordered that retired Judge Proud, who entertained our hearings originally, conduct an evidentiary hearing concerning this motion in the near future. The parties are presently trying to schedule the same for sometime in January, and I'll keep you advised. With respect to Pulte, that is on the agenda this evening, and I'll be talking about that particular litigation at the appropriate time.
Thank you. Nate, Township Engineers Report.
Good evening. Just three items this evening. First is, in good news, the Concord Road Bridge closure will be ending in the very near future. We have the final inspection scheduled for a week from Friday. So barring anything unforeseen, that road will be opening soon. I went back and checked my notes, and I think they had told us December, so they hit the mark on that pretty good. So that's good to see. I know there were some negative people out there, so it's nice when PennDOT's able to deliver that type of project. Second, in some good news as well, today, construction of an additional bus shelter on South Evergreen Drive got started. So that'll be near the Maris Grove and Concordville Town Center. Again, the employees in those shopping centers in Maris Grove use those bus shelters frequently. So that's getting installed, and we'll wrap up. And then last, we have a payment on the agenda tonight, but the landscaping contract is substantially complete as of earlier this week, really late last week. I have gotten some questions on that. You know, it's tough to appreciate landscaping when you install it this time of year. I'm really looking forward to the spring when everything pops. But yes, we do have warranties, guarantees, maintenance, all included in that contract or into the next calendar year for additional 12 months. So I just want everybody to realize we do have that in our back pocket, and we'll take a second look at things in the spring when everything's. Unless there's any questions, that's all I have tonight. That's not on the agenda.
Any questions for Nate?
Nate, just to clarify what Nate was discussing on that last point regarding landscaping, Nate, I believe you were referencing the new landscaping that was put in on the 202 grassy medians from from Beaver Valley Road down to the Delaware State line, and that was part of a gateway beautification project. Used the tree fund money, and I agree. It's hard to appreciate landscaping in December, but I think once it all fills in the spring, I think we'll all be very grateful for beautiful new entrance to Concord Township.
Yeah, that was one of probably four mini projects. So it was the 202 medians that John mentioned, improvements at the Township Municipal Building, a lot of trees there at the Township Building. We did some plantings on a open space track called Corilla off of Powell and Namens Creek Road that we recently purchased, as well as some improvements for landscaping at the entrance to the Township Park. There's kind of four smaller projects. The 202 landscaping one is the one that took the longest and just got wrapped. Thanks.
Nate, did you ever get an answer to my question about the plant size?
Yeah, we have confirmed the plant sizes. There was various plant sizes, 1 pound, 3 pound, 5 pound. So we have confirmed those as we go in advance of the payment.
Okay.
I had our landscape, we have a registered landscape architect who was on site for all the plantings to confirm that. And then if anything dies over the winter, we have a guarantee in place as well.
Excellent.
All right.
Any other things regarding engineering? With the heavy rains that we had last week, there was some flooding on Smithbridge Road near Hayburn Road, and Delaware County PennDOT did come out this week and excavate a culvert that I believe had been buried and was creating a lot of the flooding issue. And so that has been corrected, which is great news for the folks who are here on the western side of the township.
Okay. All right, thank you, Nate. Township Manager report, Amanda.
Sure. So I've been getting questions by various council members regarding right to know law and how many requests we received. So I just wanted to provide some quick numbers that would be helpful. So far this year, we have received and processed about 112 requests. And what's interesting about that is during COVID, in the very difficult time from mid-March to about mid-May, we actually, as part of our emergency declaration, were not receiving in requests. Requests were being postponed until we were back in the office. So essentially you have 3 months of not receiving them. So we do have 112 of those requests. About 30% of those requests are from one individual, and they sort of break down from there. But I did want to make council abreast of how many we've had because I get a lot of questions. Obviously, we need legal review on some of those items, so I just want to make sure everyone knows those numbers moving forward, and we'll be evaluating that as we are getting a lot of requests. We are evaluating sort of costs and things of that nature and time. It takes a lot of time because that's a very formal process and for retrieving those documents. So I'll keep council in the loop, and I just wanted to bring that up since I have been getting a lot of random questions as it relates to right to know. Additionally, we have randomly been getting questions regarding the COVID-19 update. The township does have an emergency management team. We have all been included in various webinars, meetings with the county to discuss how vaccinations and things are moving forward. Our emergency management coordinator, Fred Field, and his deputy, Bob Vasek, have asked me to just update the public on some 5 known factors. There's a lot of rumors out there regarding the pandemic and as it relates to vaccination. So if you'll let me, I'll just read the 5 points that they wanted to make sure I got across to the public now. And really, more importantly, just to let people know, we are in tune and we will produce any information as it becomes available to us, but we aren't the lead in this type of a situation. The county takes lead from the state when it comes to this. But number 1, FDA vaccine approval is tentatively assumed to be a mid-December approval with mass vaccination to start in late December or early January. The second point, vaccination rollout for priority groups has been suggested by the CDC, but states can structure the priority groups at their discretion. Presently, CDC has developed the following groupings of participants. 1A, healthcare personnel and long-term care facility residents. 1B group, designated essential workers. 1C, high-risk adults with medical conditions and adults 65 years of age and older. Pennsylvania present groupings include a phase 1, which incorporates the CDC's 1A, which I noted earlier was healthcare personnel and long-term care facility residents, 1B, which is designated essential workers, and 1C, which is the high-risk adults with medical conditions and adults 65 years of age and older, are in the first phase according to the current Pennsylvania grouping. Phase 2, under the state, lists any remaining phase 1 participants and the general population. The third point, following vaccination, measures to stop the possible spread of the virus will still require masks and social distancing for the general population. So once you do get vaccinated, masks are still going to be part of those requirements. The fourth point, all levels of government are committed to making COVID-19 vaccines available to all residents who want them as soon as possible. And the final point is the November 20th PA State Plan for Mitigation Strategies requires mask wearing both indoor as well as outdoor events while maintaining social distancing. The statewide mitigation order advises that they are revising the reissuing of its orders to protect businesses, customers, and employees. This order will consolidate previous orders and includes reiterating cleaning and social distancing requirements, mandatory telework requirements unless impossible, and other safety measures. And with that, I'll just note that we have updated our measures back to where we were previously when we opened the doors in May, and that all non-essential business, we're asking the public to shoot us emails and to call our staff who are working different shifts so we can limit amount of the folks in the building. And we're asking that only essential business and essential business by appointment have visitors coming into the township building. And that information is available on our website. And that's all I have to report. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any questions on that?
Huey,
Yes, sir.
when you review these requests to know,
Yes, sir.
now, do we do that on an hourly basis? Is that how you're billing it?
Yes, sir.
So that can be costly for the township.
Depending on the request and depending on what's involved, it could.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Amanda, on the right to knows, is it something that you've done in the past to track how long it takes to complete each right to know? And how much is your time versus others' time?
No, so any solicitor time is, easier to track per their billing. We haven't tracked every single person's time. I mean, I can give averages depending on the type of request because you can pretty much see from my response. I have a spreadsheet on the response times where we can figure out for the most part, but I don't independently say this one took me 3 hours or it took Barb 2 hours and Mary Lou an hour or this one an hour. But we will be doing that as we move forward because with 112 in a short amount of time, especially with COVID, they're getting to be more of a, and I don't want to say full-time job, but they're getting to be more overwhelming in nature. So we are going to take a look and see how we can't figure out, maybe more efficiently what we need to do for those requests.
Anyone else? Okay, Amanda, thank you. Next on the agenda is the public comment. I think, Amanda, you have some stuff that we received and we'll read into the record.
Yes, I do. So we received, as of noon today, 4 requests, and I will read them off for you now. So the first request comes from Kevin Voigt at 286 Willits Way. And Kevin's request is regarding the burning ordinance amendment that's up for discussion this evening. And he writes, during one of the initial readings of ordinance number 394, I had provided comments requesting that council include language in the ordinance to help protect the health and well-being of township residents during events of significantly poor air quality. I noticed that no language was included in the amendment, and I would like to understand the reason why council chose not to insert any protective language. In addition, relating to the agricultural area security law, and in particular section 909A, review by governing body, the agricultural security area created under the law shall be reviewed 7 years after its creation and every 7 years thereafter and shall include a public hearing. Resolution number 4 of 1997 created the initial agricultural security area. Reviews should have occurred in or around 2004, 11, and 18. Please provide the resolution numbers and or hearing dates when these septennial reviews occurred. If the township believes that it is exempt from conducting these reviews, please provide the relevant citations. Thank you. Go ahead. The second comment I'll read, which is from Joshua Twersky, and he is 1 Cedar Grove Drive. With respect to amending the burning ordinance that is on the agenda, it was requested by one property owner, the Chettys, correct? Is there a quid pro quo of any kind with the Chettys in connection with the burning ordinance amendment? The burning ordinance amendment would theoretically allow the Chettys to burn 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, correct? Based on my right to know request, it seems there have been no violations of the current burning ordinance by the Chettys since inception. Why would the township allow them to burn 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, if they seem to have no problem complying with the current third Saturday of the month only, with no burning in the months of June, July, August, and September? Why would the township take such a big step backwards in protecting the air quality by allowing such unrestrained burning to be allowed by this amendment? Another part of his question, with respect to the appointment of Colleen Marone as a council member, is this the same Colleen Marone who served 8 years on Delaware County Council and throughout that term vehemently resisted the creation of a county health department that has now put the entire county and Concord Township in a grave position during the COVID-19 pandemic? With respect to the solicitor's no-bid contract that has a $4,075 per month retainer, I did a right to know for all solicitor bills for 2020, and per the bills, the $4,075 per month retainer the solicitor is paid is just for attendance of the council meetings. The solicitor charges $180 per hour for all other work in addition to the $4,075 monthly retainer. Conservatively, the monthly council meetings do not take more than 3.5 hours per month. That equates to the solicitor receiving north of $1,160 per hour just for attending the council meetings. Does council support paying $1,160 per hour to the solicitor and continuing this no-bid contract? I will take silence as support. Have a nice evening. The next public comment comes from Mark Elser of 12 Ward Creek Drive. Dear Council, without firsthand knowledge as to the contents of the proposed resolution 63-2020, which is up for discussion and potential approval at your meeting this evening, I would like to offer the following general comments. I must assume that this settlement is regarding the Pulte Homes conditional use application and Commonwealth Court actions of docket 2018-007101 for a 254-unit conditional use application for the parcel on the Old Springton Lake recreational parcel. Question number 2. I would like to emphasize that any settlement should only be relative to the specific conditional use application, which was denied, and only to the aspects of the conditional use process. That being said, I assume that the applicant will still need to comply with all other zoning and SALDO requirements with a future subdivision plan submission. The final public comment we received this evening was from Eugene Goebel, and he's at 7 Quaker Lane. And his question had to do with a recent violation at 711 Concord Road, Suite number 2, the old dance studio. Can the township advise me what the plans are for that building, as well as commit to keeping the stop order in place until the Article XX permit process is filed? B, have the contractors that were involved doing the work without permits been identified? C, were the contractors performing the work licensed and insured with the township? D, was Premier Property Services, who operates from that address, involved performing the illegal work? Is Premier Property Services a licensed and insured general contractor with the township, or is their website false advertising? E, here is the link for Premier Property Services website. Please note the company offers full service general contracting. They know better than to have performed the substantial structural work without following code. This is far from the first offense for this property owner. Please review Chapter 82 of the Code of Concord Township and discuss appropriate fines and revocation suspensions for Premier Property Services. To my knowledge, the property operators have not been held financially liable for any of a multiple of past violations. Seems to me if there are never consequences to their bad conduct, you can count on the bad conduct continuing. And then there's a link. That's all I had for public comment.
Any, move right along with what's your pleasure? Move right along with the agenda?
I'm happy to address some of the questions regarding the burning ordinance in the agricultural security area.
Go ahead, John.
Thank you. So there were a number of questions. I think it's helpful to start with a bit of background regarding the agricultural security area, because the amendment to the burning ordinance applies only to properties located within the agricultural security area. And that is a very important point to clarify, as some folks have been spreading misinformation in the public on social media to the contrary. So the Agricultural Security Area program began in 1981 in Pennsylvania as a tool for strengthening and protecting agriculture in Pennsylvania. Farm landowners working together initiate the process of establishing such areas in which agriculture is the primary activity. Participating farmers are entitled to special consideration from local and state government agencies, thus encouraging productive agricultural use. In particular, participants do receive special consideration regarding local ordinances' impact on farming activity and nuisances. And that really gets to the heart of why we are amending our burning ordinance to accommodate farming activity within properties and farms located within the agricultural security area. So what the our current burning ordinance, burning 2 days a month for 9 months of the year, is perfectly suited to the suburban nature of our community. It is restrictive from a farming operation perspective. And so what this does is it establishes new rules and protocols for burning within the farms in our ag security area to provide them leeway to do what they do, which is farm. And as a township, we do support our farming community and want to encourage that. And so with regard to Mr. Voigt's comments regarding air quality, that continues to be a priority for the township. And I will note that the burning ordinance amendment still gives the fire marshal the primary responsibility to establish whether or not conditions are safe for burning in any zone, whether it's within the agricultural security zone or not. However, we did review this request to have these very specific air quality standards incorporated into this, and Bob Vasic, our fire marshal, did not agree that that was a good idea for a few different reasons. First of all, he noted that air quality forecasts are updated every 2 hours, and so shutting down burning at one point could shift later on, so it would become a moving target throughout the day. Also, the air quality monitors are located in Marcus Hook, Tallyville, Delaware, the city of Wilmington, and western Chester County. And as air quality can be impacted by wind direction and atmospheric conditions, given that none of those locations are in Concord Township, the reading at those areas may not be particularly relevant to what's actually occurring in Concord. And ultimately, the fire marshal does have the ability to continue to make those local calls as needed. So really this ordinance as written gives the discretion to the fire marshal, who of course has the health and safety of our community at the highest order. With regard to some of the other comments, with regard to the Chetties in particular, the Chetties are one of the properties that are in the agricultural security area, and so other property owners include the Munchlers over across from Pedgewood's Winery, also the Wilcox properties down on Ivy Mills Road. So there were about 11 property owners that initiated the agricultural security area back in 1997. Since then, some of those properties have been developed, and those properties have fallen out of the program. So we're really talking about this applying to a handful or so of properties. And for example, one of the properties that fell out was the Panarello property when Cedar Grove Drive was developed just a few years ago. So that also speaks to the review of this ordinance. And so with regard to that, council, or at that time the Board of Supervisors, did vote in January of 2004 to continue unmodified the program. And they also did that in March of 2009. And then in March of 2015, the Panarello property and Bernard properties were removed, and the program is up for review next March of 2021, which we will be doing. However, I will note that Section 909 does provide for review. However, if the governing body fails to act, areas shall be determined to be readopted without modification for another 7 years. With regard to any idea of special treatment or who requested this, there is no quid pro quo, there is no special treatment other than acknowledging that it was brought to our attention by the Chettys that our ordinance did adversely limit them and their ability to conduct their farming activities. And as a member of our subcommittee on ordinances, I worked to correct this and fully support and will be moving later that we adopt this so that we can protect the farmers and those activities in our community who do exist and for which we are grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Any other comments from anyone? Okay, let's move right on the agenda. One thing I would like to add, though, I guess I shouldn't, but I can't help myself. Sometimes we seem to be getting involved in this game of tag your it with people, certain people in our township, and the lack of a response does not imply agreement, disagreement, comments made. In my opinion, we have the same course up on certain issues ad nauseum. Answers are what the answers have always been. Somehow twist words in order to have them somehow be construed. True does not make them true. So I just thought I would add that. I don't know, myself in trouble here. Let's get a little frustrating from this end. Moving right along with the agenda, under new business, since there is no old business, first item is ordinance number 394, the burning ordinance amendment. Mr. Clausen, I was going to let you handle that. You did a great job eloquently giving us some version of it a few minutes ago, but if there's anything else you want to add and maybe make a motion to get that started.
No, thank you very much, Mr. President. I will go ahead and just read this ordinance, which I think is very self-explanatory and I think can clarify a lot of the misunderstanding that may have been disseminated. Concord Township Ordinance number 394, an ordinance of Concord Township amending Chapter 112 of the Code of Concord Township as previously amended by Ordinance number 379 of 2017, which adopted the 2015 International Fire Code with modifications to permit daily burning within the Concord Township Agricultural Security Area and establishing rules for burning in the Agricultural Security Area. Whereas Concord Township Code and Concord Township Charter authorize Concord Township Council to adopt regulations governing open burning, fire protection systems, and other fire regulations for the benefit of the public welfare, fire safety. And whereas Concord Township on August 1st, 2017 adopted the 2015 International Fire Code with certain modifications by enactment of Ordinance number 379 of 2017. And whereas the Council, in order to promote agriculture in the township while maintaining fire safety, has determined to permit burning within the agricultural security area by amending Chapter 3, General Requirements, Section 307, Open Burning of the 2015 International Fire Code by providing an exception and conditions for burning within the agricultural security area of the township. Now, therefore, this 8th day of December 2020, the Council of Concord Township hereby enacts and ordains the following. Section 1 of Section 112-2, additions, insertions, and changes of Ordinance 375 is hereby amended by adding thereto subsection E16. Burning shall be permitted on any day when fires are not declared to be a hazard by the Township Fire Marshal within the agricultural security area of the township, defined by Resolution number 40 of 1997 and in correspondence dated October 17th, 1997 to the Delaware County Recorder of Deeds, where the property is currently in active agricultural use and where the material is agricultural in nature and or vegetative in an unmanufactured state, and from the property where the burning takes place, and the burning, including carryover burning from day to day, is conducted by a resident of the agricultural use property who shall remain attendant at the site of the burning at all times. There is a repealer that all township ordinances, parts of the ordinance inconsistent with the provisions hereof are hereby repealed and rescinded to the extent of any inconsistency or conflict, and there's a severability clause and effective date. So as you can see, those are the specific conditions whereby burning is allowed from day to day, but it must be agriculture in nature from the property where it's being burned, and the resident must remain in attendance at all times. So that is resolution, which I so move. Ordinance, which I so move.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
I second.
Any questions or discussions?
I have
All
one
those in-
question,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Colleen.
If the fire marshal doesn't think that it's safe to, have a burn that day, or, how do they communicate that with the, homes that are allowed to do this on a daily basis?
So then, if there was there are a limited number of properties which this is applicable to, and so they would just be in communication with each other directly. There doesn't need to be mass communication. So.
Okay.
Any other question?
Dominic, I'll need to call roll as this is an ordinance.
Go ahead.
So if everyone can unmute themselves, I will take a roll call. Ms. Marone, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Harding, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Rankin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Crossan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Gillespie, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Pileggi, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously with that.
Thank you. Next item is item number 2, ordinance number 395, which is Administrative Code of Concord Township. And this is an ordinance to adopt Administrative Code governing ethics, conflicts of interest, personnel, bidding, borrowing, and financial policies as required by Section 501 of the Concord Township Home Rule Charter. And I think this has been on the docket for a while,
Yes.
and we're finally getting it done. And had a hearing on this, and there were no comments on it at that time that I recall.
That's correct. There was a hearing on November 10th.
I guess I would call for a motion to approve the ordinance number 395, Administrative Code.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
questions or discussion? And I think you also have to call the roll on this one, correct?
Yep, that is correct. Ms. Marone, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Harding, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Rankin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Mahoney, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Crossan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Gillespie, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Pileggi, how do you vote?
Aye,
So with that, the motion passes unanimously.
thank you. Next is ordinance number 396, the 2021 budget. Whereas the Township of Concord of Delaware County completed and published a proposed budget, which includes all proposed expenditures and other uses, all anticipated revenues and other sources of income, any unreserved fund balance to be used for fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021. Did conduct a public hearing on November 10th, which time a proposed budget for fiscal year 2021 was discussed and considered. Whereas the total of all budgeted expenditures and other uses in the budget do not exceed the total of all budgeted revenues and other sources of income, plus any unreserved income to be set forth as in Exhibit A, which is incorporated herein and attached hereto. Whereas the proposed 2021 final budget, as outlined in this ordinances, establishes the 2021 real estate tax millage at .064 mils for library, .061 mils for fire hydrants, .139 mils for open space, and .25 mils for general purpose, including fire protection, for a total real estate tax levy of .514 mils or .543 mils for those properties that are not serviced by fire hydrants, as set forth attached exhibit. We have a motion to approve ordinance number 396.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second motion.
Any questions or discussion?
Just a clarification, I think you may have misspoke with the total millage without fire hydrant tax at 0.453, just for those who were listening.
I
Correct.
apologize.
I heard that. Yep.
Okay. Gee, thanks, guys.
So,
Hanging up on me, aren't you?
so clarification,
Can I mute you guys?
point of clarification, no tax increase.
There's the millage, Hank, help me on this if I need help. The millage rate was adjusted to reflect the increase in real estate tax assessment so that the total amount of tax revenue received should be equal to what it was received last year, correct?
Correct.
Does that answer your question, John?
Yes.
Any other questions? I think we were going to talk a little bit in the budget. One thing that came to mind on my end was we're talking about all this leaf collection and that. Is there any way we could somehow come up with a way of maybe having our new Public Works director figure out what the cost might be to possibly on a trial basis offer some sort of leaf collection in the future, Amanda?
Absolutely, that's a great idea.
Like another Providence, I think, did it or used to do it. I know Media Borough does it. It's probably easier for the borough since the streets are laid out in grids, but it might be something being with recycling and being earth-friendly to maybe offer that service. So it might be something we want to look at in the future.
Yep, I think that's a great idea. I'm happy to talk to our new Public Works Director and have him get started on that in the first quarter of this year.
Okay. Any other questions from anybody regarding the budget?
One of the other things that I'd like to highlight is that we budgeted this year for expanded community events, which we saw this summer in partnership with Darlington Arts around concerts. Next year, we're planning for more concerts and movie nights, so something everyone can look forward to. And we've also partnered with the Newland Gristmill as well as part of this budget.
With that being said, we have a motion and a second. Amanda, I think you also have to call the roll for this ordinance, correct?
Yes, that
Dominic,
is.
real quick,
Go ahead.
Dominic, one question before we call the roll. I also wanted to ask if throughout the 2022 calendar year, we could take a look at our bond refinancing and see if there is an opportunity for the township to further reduce some of our expenses through any type of refinancing, if it's in the best interest of the township to take a look at any of the two bonds that we have and take advantage of better interest rates in the coming months.
Again,
I think
another,
it's a project that would take some time to do.
absolutely a great idea. Hank's on this. We'll make sure that that gets started first thing in the new year. Colleen, thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. Amanda, will you call the roll, please?
Sure. Ms. Marone, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Harding, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Rankin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Mahoney, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Crossan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Gillespie, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Pileggi, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, with that, budget passes 7-0. High fives, Hank.
Everybody gets paid next year then.
Yep.
We have a demolition application for a historic Class 1 resource, 40 Beaver Valley Road, also known as the Zeckman property that the township purchased. And we had applied for a demolition permit to the Historic Commission. I think the 90-day clock expires this evening. They are requesting that we extend that for another 90 days for the simple reason that the architect they've hired to analysis of the resource is going to need a little more time. I think, Mr. Clausen, you might want to expand on that a little more.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. President. So the resource that you're referring to is actually the Nathaniel Newland House, which is believed to be one of the oldest buildings in Concord Township. And we are in discussions around with the Newland Gristmill to explore the current status of the building, what the condition is, and if it's possible for us to salvage and preserve it and potentially move the structure over to the site of the Newland Gristmill to be part of their interpretive center around Nathaniel Newland. So it's a wonderful opportunity to preserve some of our history, but also in a location where it can be interpreted, and that also enhances our partnership with the grist mill. So I will move that we approve this extension in order to take the time needed to get this done right.
We have a second.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Next is Resolution 60 of 2020. Hank, it looks like we need signatures, and TD Bank wants a resolution saying such.
Yes.
I just want to point out, the reason that this is being done via resolution is because what Hank has done is ask the bank to have your signatures go across all of the funds. So this is their mechanism, whereas before it would have just been individuals. So that's part of the reasoning.
Okay. All right, so Resolution 60 of 2020, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Resolution 61 of 2020. Nate, do you have anything on this, a plan or something to pull up? Nate, you're muted.
I'm coming. So, Amanda, I'm going to share my screen if you can allow me.
I'm doing it right now.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to pull up my screen here. It should have the plan on it. You guys should all be able to see that currently. Somebody
Yep.
nod that you can see that.
Yep, you're good.
Thank you. So, on behalf of the Planning Commission, in front of us tonight, we do have a subdivision plan for Fred Cordone at 136 and 150 Matson Road. On this project, there's an existing right-of-way called Marion Lane. What they're trying to do here is subdivide the property such that there'll be essentially 2 new building lots. One lot will remain as is, one lot will be demolished and reconstructed. So it's a +2 as building lots go. This plan has been reviewed by my office, the sewer department, fire marshal, the county planning department. The biggest change in this plan is that in working with the sewer department, this plan now has public sewers extended to it. Previously, they were doing on-lot sewers. So now this project does have public sewers. They have private well water. Stormwater management has been designed for this project, as well as some robust landscaping. We've been working with the design engineer from E.D. Walsh on this project, probably going on a few months now. The sewer modifications were a big change. But with those sewer modifications, the Planning Commission at their meeting last month did make a recommendation to approve this project, conditioned upon those various review letters. And in addition, to grant several waivers. The waivers are in regards to the road or lack thereof of a road. Since there was only a +2 in regards to the number of lots, Planning Commission recommended to waive various private street requirements. To create a street cul-de-sac for 2 new lots in this area just seemed overkill of impervious coverage, and then the stormwater implications, et cetera. So they agreed the shared driveway scenario for these lots is appropriate. So they recommended several waivers. I believe there's 4 waivers in total. So based on that, I did help the solicitor prepare a draft resolution for tonight that I believe somebody has and perhaps want to read. And I can answer specific questions that anybody might have.
I have the resolution here, Nate. I do want to point out, and I want to thank Mr. Tordone, the owner of the property, who I do think is going to be moving into one of the homes, in working in his efforts to help us at in the sewer department, and by contributing to the cost of a sewer extension, and also by installing lines from this would be the north to the south of the property that he's going to dedicate to the township. So there are more homes behind this subdivision that we will someday be able to get public sewers to. So I want to thank him for his efforts in doing that. But let's take a stab at the resolution first, and then if there's any other questions, we can get to them. It's a final minor subdivision of land development plan dated February 14th, 2020. Last revised October 31st, 2020, prepared by E.B. Walsh. Nate basically gave the highlights that there's going to be 3 lots here when we're done. Be approved, subject to the following conditions. 1, compliance with all comments contained in the Pannoni Review Letter dated November 9th, 2020, attached as Exhibit A. 2, compliance with all comments contained in the Delaware County Planning Department letter dated April 17th, 2020, attached as Exhibit B. Compliance with all comments contained in the Bradford Engineering Associates, Inc. review letter dated November 4th, 2020. Compliance with all comments contained in the Fire Marshal's email dated November 5th, also attached as an exhibit. Number 5, the shared maintenance agreement for the driveway access easement shall be executed and recorded for lots 1, 2, and 3 prior to the release of the final plan. Number 4, a contribution in the amount of $4,500, $1,500 per lots to the Municipal Stormwater Control BMP Operating and Maintenance Fund is required. Number 7, the deeds for all lots shall indicate that further subdivision is prohibited. Number 8, applicant shall pay $20,000 to the township prior to the release of the signed plans towards the cost of the extension of the sewer service at the intersection of Marion Lane and Matson Road. Applicant shall also pay sewer tap-in fees for the 3 newly created lots. It is understood and agreed that said tap-in fees will be paid at the time of the issuance of the respective building permits. Number 9, applicant is responsible for the installation of sanitary sewer system from Matson Road along the west side of Marion Lane as shown on the final plan. Applicant is responsible for installation for all sewer connections for the 3 newly created lots and for the installation of a service lateral from the sewer main to the property line for the existing home at 136 Matson Road. Applicant will dedicate the sewer main and laterals along the west side of Marion Lane, along with a 30-foot easement extending along the west side of Marion Lane to the real property line of Lot 3 as shown on the final plan. Number 10, signed, sealed surveyor certification of placement of monuments and pins must be filed with the township prior to the release of the final plans. Number 11, plans are to be submitted in electronic format acceptable to the township engineer. Number 12, all deeds for the proposed properties, legal descriptions, easements, driveway easements, and stormwater maintenance agreements are to be submitted for review and approval by the township engineer and township solicitor prior to the release of the signed plans, and the granting of 5 waivers from 16039E1, requiring a maximum of 3 interior lots to access a private street, 16039E1A, requiring a private street width to have 50-foot right-of-way, 16039E1B, requiring an 18-foot cartway width for a private street, from 16039E1D, requiring rolled curbing for private streets, and from 16010A2 to proceed as a minor subdivision and land development submission. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 61 of 2020?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other questions or discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Resolution number 62, acceptance of the Garden Valley Greenway feasibility study. Mr. Crossan?
Oh, Nate,
Yeah, we can turn it
so,
over.
so basically, the Garnet Valley Greenway feasibility study is a really big packet of information that is a wonderful resource that lays out the Garnet Valley Greenway, which runs under the Pico right-of-way, roughly from where Wegmans is, down past Smithbridge Road Park, and connects down to Clayton Park. And so this is the first phase of doing a project like this is the feasibility study. So we are accepting this feasibility study as complete. And so whereas Concord Township has prepared said feasibility study, and the purpose of the plan is to determine the feasibility of constructing a trail along 4 miles of existing utility rights-of-way, easements, and/or private property traversing the entire township in a north-south direction, and providing an off-road connection to Delaware County's Clayton Park and the future Octorara Trail. And whereas the plan was financed in part by a Community Conservation Partnerships Program grant under the administration of Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. Now therefore be it resolved that the project was completed in accordance with the grant. All project expenditures have been made in accordance with the agreement, and the plan and related materials are acceptable to Concord Township, and the plan and related materials will be used to guide future recreation and conservation decisions. So I move that we accept the Garnet Valley Greenway feasibility study.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second motion.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. Resolution 63 of 2020, settlement of Pulte homes. You're going to give us some background on this, and then we probably will do a motion, and then we can have any further discussion, or if my colleagues would like just to fire off some questions to you before we go to the motion or the resolution, I'm happy to do that too.
Let you. Thank you. So by way of background, Pulte is the equitable owner of this 22.5-acre tract located on Route 202. It's otherwise known by most folks as the Spring Lake Tract, where the miniature golf course used to be many years ago. The majority of this property is located primarily within the C2 Planned Business and Commercial Zoning District of Concord Township, with approximately 4 acres located within the R2D Resident Zoning District. So the bulk of the property, the C2 Planned Business and Commercial Zoning District, is governed by use regulations as set forth in 210-127, which essentially provides for shopping center use and other type of retail, business, medical, and other types of facilities. Pulte filed a conditional use application with the township on February 2nd, 2018, proposing the construction of 254 residential townhomes pursuant to Section 210-127D12 of the Concord Township zoning laws. 3 hearings were held on this conditional use application, April, May, and June of 2018. At the conclusion of the hearings and the closing of the record, the township issued a written decision denying this conditional use application. If you can, Amanda, would you please pull up Exhibit A?
Just give me 1 second.
Sure. While she's pulling up, so Exhibit A was the plan that council turned down, and this was for the 254 unit plan. And if you'll notice when you look at the plan, a few things. One, it is highly congested. There is little, if no, open space or recreation area. There is little buffered area. And there, the essential, and it's essentially was an, in the township's opinion, was an unsafe plan. Consequently, the township turned the plan down. On September 5th, 2018, Pulte filed a notice of appeal. Following oral argument, the court in July of 2019 reversed the township's decision and remanded the case back to the township to determine what, if any, detrimental impact would be found with respect to the surrounding community. The conditional use hearings were reopened on November 12th, and at the conclusion of these conditional use hearings, called the second round, the township again voted to deny this application. On November 21st, Pulte filed an appeal of the township's subsequent decision. And again, in January of 2020, the court reversed Concord Township's denial of Pulte's conditional use application. On January 24th, pursuant to council's instructions, I filed a motion for consideration of the court's order. Thankfully, the court granted our motion for reconsideration on January 29th of 2020. On February 7th, the court conducted oral argument with respect to the motion for reconsideration. At that time, and at the conclusion of the evidentiary hearing, the court indicated that there were potential issues at least, with this 254-unit plan. And he advised both parties that would be in their best interest to resolve the litigation, or at least attempt to do so, and appointed retired Judge Burr to facilitate the resolution. You can take that exhibit down, if you would, Amanda, and get the next exhibit ready to go, which would be Exhibit B. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, settlement discussions were delayed. They resumed, and over the past 4 months, parties have exchanged various terms of settlement and have appeared before Judge Burr on 2 occasions. Some of the plans that were discussed were modifications of the 254-unit plan. First, Pulte invited the township to accept a plan of approximately 200 to 210 units. The township declined to do so. Pulte then came back and requested that we entertain a 180-unit plan. The township declined to do so. Pulte then came back again for a 154-unit plan, and the township again declined to consider that plan. Finally, Pulte asked the township to consider a 128-unit plan, which coincidentally was a plan that Pulte initially presented back in 2019. If you could bring up then Exhibit B. This here is the 128-unit plan, a much better plan. Why? Obviously, it is less dense. It provides a better buffered area for the surrounding communities, including the residential neighborhood immediately to the east. Furthermore, and most importantly, if you look in the upper right-hand corner of the plan, that 4 acres is going to be left as essentially open space. It will have a small activity field and a walking trail. So consequently, after the negotiations and 4 months of deliberation, the developer has agreed to reduce the plan to 128 and to provide 4 acres of open space as opposed to developing that with another 3 to 4 residential homes. In addition to the 128-unit plan, the Township Council discussed various items with the developer, which developed into the next exhibit, which is Exhibit C. And this exhibit, you can bring that up, Amanda.
Hugh, that's what I have up, actually.
Okay, how about Exhibit B then, please?
Exhibit B I have as a legal memorandum.
Okay, that's fine. And essentially, it limits the amount of units. It talks about the open space. It talks about the dedication, or that the streets would be kept private. Most importantly, it was understood and agreed by the parties that Pulte, subsequent to this resolution, would have to submit a full set of engineered plans, which are to be reviewed by the township engineer, the township sewer engineer, township land planning consultant, and the fire marshal to incorporate the terms and conditions of the memorandum to also ensure compliance with the applicable state and local statutes and ordinances as determined by our township professionals. The township engineer, township land planning consultant, fire marshal shall review the set of fully engineered development plans within 45 days of receipt. If they determine that the plans are compliant, they will so indicate to me and the board. And when we reach that stage, within 30 days, there'll be a receipt of written notification from the township engineer, the township planning consultant, and the fire marshal that the fully engineered land development plans generally conform to the memorandum of understanding and comply with all applicable state and local statutes and ordinances, and the parties will notify the court that the matter has been resolved and file a joint motion for entry of an agreed order designating the matter settled, discontinued, and ended. I would be remiss if I didn't inform you that both myself and members of council have spoken with some of the members of the immediate residential neighborhood to the east of this proposed development. Those folks have contributed in the discussion. They have requested certain measures in terms of buffering, fencing, plantings, etc. They also had requested that the walking trail, again, that's you can see in the upper right-hand corner on the open space, 4 acres. Originally, the developer had almost had a figure-8 trail that extended the full length of that 4-acre parcel, but based on the residential neighbors' input, they agreed to pull that trail back and also to reduce the size of the activity field. It is my professional opinion, and I am recommending that the council approve this resolution with respect to settlement. I strongly believe that this is in the best interest of the township, and I believe that it is in the best interest of the neighborhood immediately to the east, and in fact, in the best interest for all the surrounding neighborhoods, for a variety of reasons. It's not another shopping center. The density has been greatly reduced to 128 units. You've picked up essentially 4 acres of the open space designation, which will remain in perpetuity. And we have now increased buffering all around the perimeter of the property, together with sidewalks which will extend and walkways which will extend on Route 202, essentially from this development, both north and south. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll leave it in your hands.
I have just 2 other, observations and or questions. If I'm not mistaken, this did have an approval for a shopping center on it at one time.
It did.
Which was probably, I forget how many square feet it was close to, but probably in excess of 65 or 70,000 square feet. It was going to be just similar to Glen Eagle or one of the other strip centers we have in the township. Just to go back on the record as to how we got here, we did have a conditional use hearing, at which time we denied the plan, and they filed an appeal to the courts, and the courts sent it back to us for another hearing, correct?
Correct.
We had another hearing, we denied it again, and the
Correct.
courts basically ruled in favor of the developer for the 250-some unit plan. And I guess, like you said, you filed a motion to reconsider, which I guess in football jargon could be probably a Hail Mary pass, and they granted it. So we were able to get back in the room and work on this again, and this is the result of that work effort, correct?
That's correct.
Clarify this, there are no 4-bedroom units in this, is that correct?
That's correct. Councilman, we limited to 3-bedroom units. You're exactly right, and no three stories.
Correct, and so previously it had a high density of 254 because they were also stacked. So you had these 4-story units and so forth. So it was quite dense and overbearing. And so not only do we eliminate any of the stacked nature of this, so lower heights and less density, but also the layout is improved. We worked on additional parking throughout the community. You can see the stormwater basins in the center. Between the townhomes will be buried so that land is accessible to the residents. And then with the sidewalks, they can walk to the shopping center, etc. So it'll be a nice addition to the township. And then with the landscape buffering, when you consider the alternative is a shopping center or some other commercial district, which most likely would require an additional light on 202, and we do not anticipate, though it's ultimately up to PennDOT to make that determination. But I do believe that this is a good settlement.
Thank you, and you're exactly correct. Thank you.
Well, why don't we do this? We would need a motion to approve Resolution 63 of 2020, which is Pulte Homes of Pennsylvania versus Concord Township and Concord Township Council. Basically, I think the resolution is just the Cliff Notes version of everything that you recited earlier. I would make that motion and we approve Resolution 63 of 2020. We have a second?
Second.
Any other questions or discussions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed?
No.
One no? Okay. Motion passes. Okay. Next, Amanda, agreement for the stormwater damage related to the last storm. Do you want to go into that?
Yeah, sure. Nate Klein and myself can definitely jump in on this one. So, as you know, we had a lot of damage as a result of that storm Isaias. I believe I'm saying that right. That was back in August of this year. One of which was this property that we've talked about before, and I think we've even mentioned this one publicly, which is at 8 Running Brook. What happened on Running Brook is we had an inlet failure and a pipe failure that resulted in an overflow that went onto this property and took out some landscaping and embankment, and it went through a culvert underneath of a driveway that the homeowner bears some responsibility on, as well as the township due to the infrastructure. Nate, I don't know if you want to jump in on anything else. I just tried to shortly summate it. But we definitely bear some responsibility in what happened. And this is basically a release allowing us to work with the homeowner and be responsible for what the engineers have identified as our portion of this project, as the homeowner is going to contract with someone moving forward, and we assisted in that process as not to leave the homeowner out to dry, no pun intended, on trying to figure out what to do here. So we've been working with this homeowner closely, and we think that this is the responsible thing to do. And with that, I'll leave that motion in your hands.
Okay. It looks like there's an agreement here that would have to be signed by the homeowner, which basically lays out what's going to be done and who's going to do what and so on and so forth, and releases and all that stuff, correct?
That's correct.
I guess we would be looking for a motion that, based upon the reports from the township manager and the township engineer, site visits to the area of the water damage, review of the township records, is the conclusion of the township council, the township infrastructure, and/or contractors of the township may have contributed to the runoff, erosion that damaged the embankment adjacent to the driveway at 8 Running Brook Road, and the township should assist Ms. Woods with the cost of repair. So we would need a motion to contribute $10,600 to the cost of repairs to Ms. Woods' property, yes, subject to the execution of the agreement, correct you?
That's correct.
We have a motion to do so?
Dominic, can you just hang one second? I just want to note Colleen's having connection issues. I'm actually trying to call her cell phone right now so that I can connect her in.
Please leave your message.
Okay, hold on.
Ain't working.
In the spirit, I will second that motion.
We'll second that motion. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Unanimous. Mr. Gillespie, as is usually
Well,
the
just so the
custom.
record's clear, it's not unanimous because Colleen is not available, but it does pass. Thank you.
Right. John, Mr. Gillespie, you're gonna handle 10, 11, 12, and 13, I guess, right?
Yes, sir. We're about to spend some money. So, the bids for the sewer chemical building, actually,
Hi, I'm gonna connect you in. Colleen is now connected in and on my audio.
Okay. Welcome back.
I stepped in, Colleen, and took care of these seconds. So that's fine. Now we're talking about item number 10, the sewer chemical building. Bids were received on October 29th. There's two different parts to this. First one is for the general construction, which is the prime contract. 3 bids were received, and we have a letter from our sewer engineer recommending that JEV Construction be the lowest responsible bidder in the amount of $314,000. The other part of that is also the chemical building, which is for the electrical construction, the prime contract. And again, 3 bids were received. We have a letter of recommendation from our sewer engineer recommending that the bid be awarded to Greg A. Dietry, Inc., the amount of $62,400. So both of those parts of the chemical building are in the form of a motion.
We have a second.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Colleen is off again,
Okay. Well,
so that's a
Colleen.
6-0.
Okay, 6-0, okay.
Moving
Next, number 11, John, go ahead.
to the bids for the sewer plant, the chemicals rather. Again, the bids were received on November 24th. We have a letter of recommendation from our sewer engineer. Low bidder is Maine Pool and Chemical Inc. from DuPont, Pennsylvania. And we asked for prices for 3 years. So we have the award for 2021 is $136,830. 2022 is $144,400. 2023 is $153,122.50. Upon approval of this will take us for a 3-year period, which is very, very comfortable. And the numbers, we're very pleased with the numbers that came in. They're actually a little bit lower than we had before. So that's in the form of a motion.
We have a second.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right, item 12, which is the certificate for payment for innovative construction for the road program. This will be the final payment. So we have part of this would be a change order in the amount of $410, which would be an increased amount. And then the final certificate for payment, which is a final as well, will be an amount of $3,410. And again, this is payable to Innovative Construction for our 2020 road program. So that's in the form of a motion.
We have a second.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And finally, item number 13, which is a certificate for payment number 2 for the landscape contract. There's also a change order included in that figure. Total amount of the certificate is $89,064. Included in that is an overall increase of $3,000 for perennial and grass. That's in the form of motion.
Seconded.
We have a second.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There is no escrow releases, no plans to accept other council matters. So 322 update, it looks like they're getting ready to open that up, Nate.
Yeah, we've been in touch with PennDOT and their project managers. In great news, they got that road paved kind of before the weather turned on us. We're finalizing the schedule for inspections. Just so everybody knows, it is the township's responsibility to maintain those traffic signals just like anywhere else. For the past 3 or 4 years now, they've been maintained by PennDOT and their contractors. Once we do the final inspection, we'll take those signals on. As part of this project, we got the black signal poles. We connected this to the intelligent traffic signals with Rhythm. We've got the battery backups. So again, another project that, is hitting all the marks. And I think for a lot of the fear maybe we had that this was going to be, a big construction traffic debacle. I know there's been some pains, growing pains during it, but to get that paving in here before the end of the year was really, really positive. And, a road that I've avoided, I think, for years. I know some of you use it much more frequently, but it's good to see that we're well over the hump now on closing this project.
And I'd like to add, I think that it's been the killer Conchester for as long as I can remember. And I want to compliment the contractor. I thought they did a great job, and I also want to compliment residents of Concord Township. I know it was a big inconvenience with a lot of roads and detours and things like that, but I think the residents showed real patience in the fact that they knew this thing had to get fixed. I do look at the second phase, which I think is going to be much more labor intensive than the first phase. I'm just happy our phase got done first, because that other one's
Here. I have a question for Nate. Is there going to be a ribbon cutting, grand opening type celebration?
I haven't heard anything yet, John. PennDOT's doing a lot of stuff remotely right now, so I'm not sure if they will be, but I will ask that question.
I think we're going to put a toll booth in.
No comment.
Concord celebrates the holidays. Amanda, anything on that?
I think John's actually going to take this one.
Oh, John, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hey, no, that's all right. Thank you. So, due to, COVID this year, we adjust, we're flexible. Unfortunately, our traditional photo op and so forth with Santa has been canceled due to it being indoors, but our Parks and Rec department has put together a number of activities and events which are really fun. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through these here. A community holiday scene and photo opportunity. Beginning next week, residents can enjoy the holiday magic and take your photos in our winter wonderland scenery, which is located at the in the community park on Smithbridge Road. You can also create a homemade ornament to place on the tree, which gets me to the next part. So we're going to have a community tree, and residents of all ages are invited to make a homemade ornament for the holiday celebrated in their home, limit of 7 by 7 inches. Place your ornament on the tree in Smithbridge Park and submit a photo for prizes. There will be first, second, and third prizes and most creative ornament, which will be awarded after the holidays. Photos must be received by December 31st. Get out your Christmas lights and climb on the roof. There is a holiday house decorating contest, so you can submit a photo of your home's decorated exterior to be considered for a prize for most creative, most lighting, and most nostalgic. Photos must be received by December 31st, and I can tell you from the other day, don't plug more than 3 strings together or you'll blow the fuse.
How about a
contest?
the biggest electric bill?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the consolation prize. Gingerbread house contest. Residents of all ages are invited to submit photos of the gingerbread house they built and decorated this year for prizes, first, second, and third for most creative. Photos must again be received by December 31st. And lastly, our annual snow creation contest, a little weather dependent, but runs through March 31st, so plenty of time for the snow to fall and you to take a photo of your snow creation and send it in for a prize for most creative. Again, that deadline is March 31st. So a number of things to look forward to in the township, and hope everyone has a wonderful holiday.
I'm surprised you didn't have a snowy scene in your background, John.
I should have had queued that up. I'm currently spring here.
All right,
Mr.
one other
President, if I
thing.
may, I just want to place on the record the fact that there was an executive session held this evening with respect to Everett, Moser, Brandywine Summit matter.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Amanda, upcoming township events, I see a note on there that all meetings will be virtual.
That is correct.
Beginning this December, correct?
We will have all information available on the website for how to join in any of those meetings.
I would entertain a motion to
Before we do that, I just want to point out we do have the ordinance hearing for the property maintenance code next Tuesday, December 15th.
motion to adjourn.
Hold on one
I
second.
think we're having issues of not hearing.
And lastly, I do want to just note for the general public that some folks like to disseminate false or misinformation on social media, which seems to be for the purpose of misleading the public and really inciting folks. And that's really unfortunate that occurs. So if anyone does have any questions about what's going on at the township, would encourage residents to reach out to Amanda, the township staff, or any of us for accurate information with regard to what's going on in Concord.
And on that note, before we do a motion to adjourn, I want to wish all my colleagues here a very Merry Christmas. I think we'll be seeing each other next week, and to all the residents of our township, a happy holidays, and everybody stay.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say
Thanks.
Aye.
Ho, ho, ho.